Hello and welcome back to another live stream. This is going to be live stream 11. And last night we streamed for a few hours, but we had a bunch of issues again with our internet. So I reset the modem and the router. I tried to reset the network connection online. We'll see if it had any effect. And we're gonna get back to coding. I think what happened was when I was downloading, when I was installing specific things where like the downloads were a few hundred megabytes, for some reason, I guess the bandwidth wasn't enough to be able to handle the stream as well as the downloads for some reason. I don't know. So I spent a little bit of time today trying to doing all the downloads and installation and stuff, and I think we're good. I think we have the ability to get our server, our backend up and running. And I'll keep monitoring the my stream right now to make sure that it's going well, or that it's not collapsing, and we'll get back to coding. So I think this project, I hope to finish it by tomorrow. So that means we have to do a lot today, and then we'll have to do a bunch tomorrow to get this entire project close to finished, or as finished as possible for like the MVP, the first version we want. So I see we have okay. We have someone coming in. Welcome. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. If you're brand new to this stream, basically what I'm doing, or this channel, basically what I'm doing this month is a 60-hour live streaming challenge or bet with one of my friends. So, so we only have about 9 or 10 days left in the month. I think it's 9. So I have to do a lot of streaming, put in a lot of hours now, because we don't have much time left. We are at, let's go over to the other screen. We are at 26 hours and 22 minutes. I was hoping to get a little bit further last night, but I did not, but that's okay. So hopefully as long as this stream doesn't go down, we're going to put in a bunch of hours today. We'll see. Or we'll see how far we get. We'll see if we have any issues. So if I have any issues, I might get really frustrated and take a break and then come back later tonight and hope that we don't have those issues again. So let me get the timer started. And we should be counting up. There we go. So we're counting up. We're at 26 hours, 22 minutes, and 50-something seconds. So now that that's running, by the way, if you're brand new, I created that little count up timer in the first live stream. So live stream 1, we created that. All right, so last night, because I'm on a new computer, I had to install MongoDB to be able to do the databasing stuff. And I had gotten to the point where I wanted to create a server, or I wanted to start creating a server, but we faced some issues with doing that, with the installation of that. So then I just basically put a pause on it. I got really frustrated, and I just ended for the night because it was getting late anyway. But basically, what I've been working on the last couple of live streams is a form, or a submission form, where someone, for example, a teacher, would fill out this information, and then when they hit submit, it would go to a database so that the administrator or the person that should be receiving these forms is able to do stuff with it. Whether to see how many people are going to specific training, to take attendance and stuff like that. That would be kind of cool to do eventually. Definitely not for this first version. For this first version, we just want to get this form to be submitted and be stored in that database. And then, in future versions or in future projects, it would be to extract that data from a database and present it on some sort of dashboard. So this is kind of a side project that I've been working on over the last couple of streams, just because I was on a new computer, so I didn't have all my code from the other projects that the other big project that I was working on a few streams ago. Okay, hold on one second. I'm getting a call. Hey, I'm streaming. What's up? All right, bye. Bye. So yes, so we are gonna work on that. We're gonna fix that up. Actually, yesterday I didn't do any form validation. So actually, this morning I was watching a few YouTube videos and a few training videos to try to improve this project. So I want to I said last night that I wasn't going to do any form validation, but I think I want to change this up just a little bit and do some form validation before someone hits submit. So the way that my project is currently set up, like Angular doesn't see anything until the submit form is pressed, and when that is submitted, then that JavaScript object gets sent to the it can handle it, but that's not what I want right now, because using this method, I can't detect if the person, for example, didn't put in their full name, or if they typed in not inappropriate, but an incorrect email address. Maybe they put ASDF, and that's not an email address. So right now, Angular isn't doing anything to detect these possible issues that could come up. I also wanted to change the program name. Instead of having a drop-down menu, I wanted to do radio buttons for this, and maybe only show the training dates, titles, and times when there is a radio button that is selected. So I think it shouldn't be too big of a change to do that. Like I really don't need everything to be a drop-down. Drop-downs really should only be in effect when there's like a lot of possible options, but we only have 3 programs available. So select a program. You don't need to. That just adds another click or 2 clicks, because they have to click on the drop down and then click on the correct program. Whereas a radio button, with just 3 or 4 options, they just pick the button. So that's one less step that they have to follow, one less possible way of them messing that up. So let's go to Bootstrap and see how we can, we'll do some of that first, and then we'll switch over to the backend stuff, the server and getting the database up and running, or creating a REST API, and then figuring out how we can send this object in Angular over to the server. So that is our goal for today. We're gonna start with the interface a little bit. I'm gonna try to get a little bit of validation going, just because of what I kind of studied this morning. I also have my notebook here, so I took some notes just in case I get stuck, and I have like a little bit of a plan for what I want to do, but we'll see if I can remember that. So let us get the radio buttons up and running. So where is radio buttons? Let me search for radio. So it's in input groups, and it's going to look like this. So I don't need them to be able to type something. I'm just going to have... let's do radio. I'll just have the options there. So yeah, it's not a radio input group because I don't need to get the input. So it's going to be in forms, I believe. Probably forms or custom forms. Let's try the forms and see if this is correct. Not a checkbox, because I don't want them to be able to select multiple checkboxes. This is what I want. I want a radio buttons. Okay, so let's see, how do we do this? Looks like we're gonna repeat this for every single possible item. So we'll put an ng4 on this one. Okay, let's copy this this one radio button. Right? That's how it's gonna be. Yeah, I guess every single one has to be in its own form check. So and if not, we'll figure it out, or we'll clean it up later. Okay, and the labels are going to be the actual programs that the person can belong to. So let me go back to my HTML, or our component here, and where do I have that? So I have that in the program name. Right now it's a dropdown, but I want to change it from a dropdown to radio buttons. So this is the first radio button. So this is going to display the schools, and I guess I got to create one for each possible program, I should say, not schools. I think I said schools. So let's put the ng4 on that, and let's set that equal to program of program names, because that is, oops, we have to use a let in front of it, I believe. Yes, we need a let in front of that. Not let's, but let. There we go. Okay, we'll change the ID and the value programmatically. So we'll do kind of very similar to how we did this. Although with this, actually, I wonder how we're going to have to do that, because we have to be able to detect, if you remember from yesterday, or if you're watching this after watching yesterday's, the way that I did it was I I made it so that when someone changes the drop-down menu in one, it updates the second drop-down menu with only the options that are appropriate for that selection. So now I'm going to have to change that a little bit to work for radio buttons because it's going to be different. So maybe I could use that same function to detect when a radio button is checked somehow. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out exactly how to do that. Okay. So the name is the selected program, and then the options where we have the NG4 on that. So the value is going to be very similar. So let me bring the values up here. That is also going to be what is going to be displayed in the radio. So let me put the program name, as you can see down here. So that's set. The ID is also going to have to be unique. So maybe we'll use the same program name for the ID. Let me remove name is selected program. Is that how I want it to be done? Name is selected program. I think we're just going to set our name to whatever the program is. I think that's going to be the way to do this. Not 100% sure, but we'll try that first. And I think now we can get rid of, well, we still need this label because that is managing the, actually we need to replace everything in this column with the radio button here. So that's going to be everything that's in here. So we'll place that inside of this, this column. Let me remove that select. And program name should be right there. That's the label we need for the program name. Let me hit save, and let's see what that looks like. So there we go. We have our programs. I mean, right now they're all selected. So what is, because the checked attribute is attached here. So let's uncheck it all. Okay, and then when I hit save, there we go. They are not checked. So now I could choose. Well, hopefully choose just one. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to make sure that when you can't check more than one. There should only be one that can be checked. So I think the problem is that we're probably, well, we'll figure it out. I'm not sure exactly why it's we're able to check more than one radio button. We should make it so that you can't. NG4, yeah, so we're creating 3 of these because that's how many program names there are in the array. Well, that's how many programs there are in the program names array. Let's think. So name, label class 4. Maybe instead of example radios 1, again, I'll just, I will just use the program. So that's going to be the 4 for it. Some of those things, some of these we might have to delete. All right, so now I'm still able to choose more than one. Not what I want. I also want to hide the training dates, titles, and times until the program name is selected. So I could probably create a property in the component. Okay, so let's try to get that working first, and then we'll. So at the beginning, show training dates, titles, times. At the beginning, we should set that equal to false. So what we can do is at the beginning, we do not show any of this. So anything in here we don't show. So the label or the div. So I guess I'm going to have to put all of this inside of a div to be able to hide it. So let's create another div and put everything inside of it. We'll call it, instead of using a div, let's just use a different HTML tag here. Let's use section, just to make it a little bit easier to read. So let's bring over the div and the label and place it inside there. And this section, we're only going to show ng. Wait, does that screw up my formatting? Why did that screw up my formatting? Maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe I grabbed it. I grabbed a div that I shouldn't have. Maybe. Let's see. No, that div and that label. So I guess I can't put it inside of a section without messing up my formatting. So let's go back to the way it was. So let's just remove that. Let me hit save. It should go back to normal. Okay, it looks normal, or what it just was. Maybe the section just brings in new, changes the formatting in some way. Let's see if we can do this in a div then. So let me hit save. And now, yeah, so when I do that, it just kind of screws up the formatting. So let's just take everything out of that div and delete that div. We won't need it. We won't use it. At least not yet, or we'll figure out a way to use it later on. Okay. Oh, actually, you know what it is? It's probably because, well, maybe because this should all be in a row. Maybe these should be in separate rows. No, that's not it. That's not it. I don't think. All right, well, let's see. What I wanted to do was I wanted to hide this if this property is false, the show training dates, titles, and times. So if that's false, so I guess we'll just put the ngIf on both of them, or on all of them. So let's do, it's going to be a structural directive, ngIf. So we only show it, only show it if this is true. So I think we could just leave it like that. There we go. That one, that the label basically hid. And we'll do the same thing for this part. So now it's hidden. So until you choose a program name, you won't see the possible training dates. So now I have to make sure that when someone selects a radio button or chooses one of these programs, it changes the value of show training dates, titles, and times. So I'll just do I'm going to rename this to show trainings. Show trainings. Just to be a little bit less wordy here. I think people will understand, if anyone's reading the code, what that means. So there we go. Why are we getting an error here? Oh, because there's one more. Show trainings. ngIf show trainings. Where's the problem? App component. Did you mean show? Oh, trainings. I forgot to make it plural, because there could be more than one. And there we go. Our errors went away on the left side. Okay, so now why am I able to choose more than one radio button? So let's go back to the HTML here. Let's go back to this the program name. We're going to use radio buttons. Why am I able to choose more than one? Let's Google that. So let's go back to Bootstrap. Actually, right now, so this works. This looks like it should work. Why is it not? Input class, form check, default radio, label, name, ID, value. And I mean, it does that for each one. But maybe it's not able to detect. Maybe I should group them so that in some way, it's not showing it here, but maybe they have to be grouped so that it knows that only one of them should be able to be selected. So I'm gonna have to read the documentation. As much as I hate doing that, I'm gonna have to do that. Okay. Default checkboxes and radios are improved upon the help of a form check. A single class for both input types that improves the layout and behavior of their HTML elements. Checkboxes, no, I don't care about checkboxes. Disabled checkboxes are supported, I don't care about that. Support HTML-based form validation and provide concise, accessible labels. As such, our inputs and labels are sibling elements as opposed to an input within a label. Okay, so that just means that they're not nested inside of each other. This is slightly more verbose, as you must specify ID and 4 attributes to relate the input and the label, which is okay, because the way I was doing it right now, wait, ID and 4. ID and maybe, oh, well, here's the 4 for this specific program. So that looks right. Okay, so that's what it looks like when it's stacked. This is what it looks like when... Program name ID value. So that should be... Let me look in the... let me inspect this element and see what it actually looks like over here. So we have our... Here's our form. Here's one, here's... Okay, so here are the 3 checks, as you can see on the right. This is what it looks like. You know what the issue might be? No, maybe not. I'm not sure what the issue is then. Let me go a little bit further. I wanted to say that the issue might be because of the name that Angular is giving this ng content. It adds like some like random I guess attribute here. Let me look in the inputs and see if there's... So input for units. This is the input for APCSP. So I see the ID. You can see that the ID is correct. Type radio, class is form check input. Name, ID. So the name is good, the ID is good, the value is good. So what is the issue? Why are we able to select more than one label? Sorry, more than one radio button. And this is the third one, which is APCSA. So that looks good. Values that. So let me let's see what happens when I actually check it off. So when I hit units, so units is right over here. This is everything that's in units. Let's see what happens when I actually check it. Did anything happen? I can't uncheck it, which is fine. Once you check one, I guess you're committed. You're committed to having to check something. I mean, this is required. But as soon as I check it, I should be unable to choose others. So let's see if we can Google a solution for that. So I'm going to type in Angular Bootstrap radio buttons. Maybe radio buttons not working. This is a little bit old, from 2015. Let's do a 2017 one with Bootstrap 4 because that's what we're using. Actually, the 2018 one is even more recent. Still 2 years old, but let's see if that helps out at all. Okay, I'm trying to switch a set of radio buttons. When I click the buttons, I can see the active class being added and removed as required. Oh, so maybe we need to add the active class when something gets checked. Strange things happen when processing the click event. If the flag value is set directly in the template, the radio buttons are not checked correctly. But the flag is set with the method that everything works well. Set value false. So how are they doing this? So class active button. No, this is a button group. Oh, this is a little different. I think these are buttons and not... Oh, yeah, should be similar, actually. Value. What's the class on that? So that is a... form check. Form check input, form check label. Form check input is the actual button. So this is what I need. I need to set this as active when it's active. So if right now I just set it equal to active, then all of them should be checked. Or how was that before? How was that done before? I think it started off by default like that. So let me look back at my thing. Oh, checked, not active. So it was checked. So if I set this equal to checked, then all of them will be checked when it starts. But what I should do is like only one can be checked at once. So let me see if I could type that a little bit better in Google. So Angular Bootstrap radio checked. Let's see if we can find something better here. And Stack Overflow would be hopefully good. Actually, let's look at the first one. Google's usually good at finding the right thing. And then we'll look at some of these other responses. Okay. Default radio buttons, default styling. Here, this is what I want it to look like this. I don't need any disabled ones. So what does this look like? That's fine. Maybe I have to set checked to each one separately. The checked attribute is a Boolean attribute. Actually, inline looks good too, but I don't really care about that right now. It's not the issue. Template-driven forms, that's what I've been doing. Template unchecked, template checked. True. Template equals true. Get checkbox's value. So the value. Okay, so. But if this is only going to work for one. What if I have multiple? Bind the value with both template unchecked and template checked in the component TS file. But then I'm going to need separate properties for each possible item, and I just don't think that that's right. Template unchecked, template checked. Can I see an example of that? What does it actually look like in practice? Template unchecked, template checked. So the value is template unchecked, template checked. ng model template. So when I click on one of these, now right now this is just programmatically checking it off. Close, but not exactly what I want, I don't think. Let's look at another one. Oh, it's the same thing. Template unchecked, template default checked. I mean, maybe that was the code. Maybe that is how we do it. Oh, wait, hold on. To create a group of radio buttons to enable single choice behavior, that's what I want. You have to set to each of the input elements the same value of the name property. Oh. So I was giving each one a different name, but I guess all of them have to have the same name. So instead of giving them each a separate name, we'll just do the group. I'll just name it the radio button group. Set that equal to that. Now let's look at it and see if that works. Oh, there we go. So now it'll, I can only select one. That's perfect. When I refresh, oh, it sets one of them as active or checked. Oh, So I guess when it's creating them, it sets the last one as checked because it's actually setting each one as checked as it makes it, but it does it so fast that, and because only one can be checked, it'll the last one will always be checked. So if I remove that, none of them should be checked until I actually check one of them, and then I could select one. All right, so now I have to make sure that I could capture that when one of these is selected, I'll display the trainings that are available to that program. So let's do that next. So I'm going to change when one of these is selected. How do I capture that? So let's type in Angular radio button selected events. There we go. Radio button events. Oh, so change. Again, I think I'll be able to use the change event. Let's try that. Let's try just like we did before. So, oh geez, did I delete all my code? All right, that's fine. Well, let's put the change event on the input. So change, set it equal to, and I think I already created that handler. So it's going to be select program handler, right? Yes. So that is going to be my my event, and to it I'm going to pass the event object. I think that's what it is. So when someone changes or selects that radio button, this will get fired off, and when this gets fired, I should change the value of show trainings to true. So let me copy that. And so when that gets selected, we're going to set this.show trainings, set that equal to true. So then it'll show, then the training dates and things should show up. All right, let's see how that works. Let's see if that works. All right, so when I choose one of these, there we go. Now we have the training dates, titles, and times that are available. And then someone could choose. Maybe I should make the first one always show. That's okay. You know what? We could just make that like required or something. And so if they change the selection, yes. Okay, so that kind of works okay. It just doesn't show the first item. Let me refresh. It just doesn't show the first item the first time that they click it. But if they switch to another one and go back, so that's not, I mean, we got to fix that. We got to change that for some reason. For some reason, it's not showing the first item. So why is that? So when this gets fired, this gets fired. So let's select a program equal event target value. I think the first time that this runs, selected program is undefined. And we could test that out. We could see if that's the case. Selected program, I'm going to log it out. So when I choose this, let me go to my console. Oh, it says units. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me refresh. So right now, when I choose units, oh no, I don't want to log the selected program here. Wait, why is that? All right, so hold on. Maybe I'm doing this wrong, or maybe I'm not thinking about this correctly. Let's go through it a little bit slower. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Sorry if I'm late. I didn't see your message until just now. We keep having internet issues past couple of days, so hopefully today we're able to continue strong without any issues. All right, so when one gets selected, the reason it doesn't show the training is because it doesn't know, maybe it doesn't know which, hold on, let me think of how this is actually occurring, in what order, in what step this is occurring. So show trainings equals true is okay. Let selected program equal event target value. Is that correct? Yeah, that's fine, because that is what was just selected. That's the either units, APCSP, or APCSA. Do you know how long you'll be streaming today? Mark, I hope I put in at least, I mean, my goal is to put at least like 6 hours today. And I just started about, I don't know, 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago, something like that. So I want to put 6 hours in today and maybe just as many tomorrow. I don't know if I'll do it all in one stream though. I might break this up into a couple or 3. It also depends on whether my internet goes down, which it has for the past couple of days while I'm streaming. Like for some reason, an hour or 2 in, it just drops and then it like lags out. But hopefully we don't have those issues today. And if I don't, I'll be putting in at least 6 hours. So we have a ways to go. All right, so once I select something, then it runs this dot update training titles and times. So then this runs, it takes the program that's selected. If the program is units, let's say, this dot trainings equals that. Okay, so when it does that, it's not updating, it's not showing the first item. So why is that? So if I look back at my HTML, over here, so when show trainings is true, this all shows. So does this one. ng model name equals selected training. Option ng4 let training of trainings. So it creates them, but it doesn't show the first one. Why is that? Why does that happen? It doesn't show it until unless I choose another one. But then when I choose one, it doesn't show. But if I choose another, it shows. And when I go back, it shows. I don't like that. I don't know why it doesn't work the first time. When I choose this, so when I select another one, it runs through all this again. Show maybe. Program. Huh. This is good news. Today is my move-in day. Oh my goodness. Big day today. I just got tested and have to wait like 4 hours for my results to see if I can move in. So I'll be watching here and there. Cool. So you're all, okay. So you went up there already? Where was it? RPI, I think you said, and they tested you over there when you got to school. And now they're having you like wait in like quarantine for 4 hours. Is that how it's going up there? That is really exciting. Exciting if you're up there. NGF show trainings. Is there a change event? So maybe when I click, no, that's not it. When I select that, it should fire it should fire it all off. Show trainings. So when show trainings is set to true, let's see what the name of the selected training is for this. Okay, so we'll see if we can find that properly. Yeah, they separated us into 2 groups, and if you're in the morning group, you get to go into your room immediately. But I'm in the afternoon group, so I have to wait until my results clear so I can go. Gotcha. That's crazy. What kind of a room are you in? Are you in like a with just one other person? Are you in a suite with a bunch of people? Have you met your roommates, or did you get to choose, or was it just random? So selected training. Name is selected training. So how could I actually access this in the form? So the F. Let me see if I could display the form. Um, console.log. Oh, no, that's on submit. You know what? I can't. I've been in Troy since 10:30. Did some last minute shopping. Now I'm waiting. Gotcha. It's crazy that it takes so long. I wonder why it takes so long for them to do these tests. Who knows? Trainings, update trainings. It's an apartment styled suite. Usually it's 4 people, but I have one roommate and I've only spoken about what we're going to be getting and stuff like that. Gotcha. That's exciting, though. It's exciting that you're up there. It just sucks that there's COVID. So who knows what that's going to be like. There's a common space, common kitchen, bathroom, all in our room, but we have separate bedrooms. Gotcha. Oh, wow. You each get your own bedrooms in a suite? That is cool. The last time I was at RPI, it was 2005 in April. And I remember it because it was like the day the Pope died. so so that's why I remember the exact, I think it was April. Whenever John Paul II, I think. Just a random tidbit. I think there's a Cracker Barrel in Troy also that we used to go to. So yeah, I was up in Albany, so it was pretty close to Troy. Okay, why isn't this showing? You know what? I can't access the form without it being submitted first. So I have to change. I can change the way that the form is, or I can make the form accessible without having to pass it to on submit. We drove around Troy and we're driving around Albany right now. Cool. Oh, you're in a car right now. Wow. You're watching the stream on the go. Tell your mom I said hi if you're with your mom. All right, so I have to change this from on submit the form. I'm going to, all right, let's see if I can remember how to do this. So I want to be able to access the form but before it actually gets submitted. And that will allow me to like console.log certain things out. All right, so how do I do that? I think I need to put, you have to use the decorator at viewChild. And then the viewChild, I'm going to capture the form and I'm going to call it the form of type ngForm. So that will allow me to do stuff with the form in here without needing to pass it in. Okay, so I think that will work. So now going back to components, I don't have to submit the form like that. Form.value. Let submission equals form.value in the component. Okay, so it's not going to be form.value anymore. It's going to be the form.value. The form.value. Now what's broken? Cannot find name form on line 33. 33. Oh, yes. Once again, it's the form dot reset form. There we go. And now we should be able to access the things in here before we even hit submit. Yes, of course, I'm genuinely enjoying these streams. Yeah, it's been fun. It's kind of fun to sometimes have someone around and like for some like banter and just like to talk a little bit. Otherwise, when you're coding, it's kind of lonely. It's a very lonely process unless you're like living with like or around other people that are coding. Also, it's kind of motivating too when you're forced to have to stream. Um, it like motivates you to code more. It kind of forces you to have to be motivated, and also it's nice to be able to like document it. So like one day in the future, I might be like, well, how did I get the form working? And I could just go back to my streams and like scrub through it and find what I did. Because sometimes we like build. I guess the analogy I would give is that like sometimes you create something and then you don't remember like all the steps that it took or all the work that you put in to get to the final like solution or whatever. So it's nice to document it too and have like a video record of it. It's kind of like if you're building like a Lego. The analogy I would give is if you're building like a Lego, some Lego thing that takes like 10 hours to do. By the time like when you finish it and you have it on the on your counter or on your desk or dresser, like it's easy to forget how much work you actually put in to actually create that Lego thing. Coding tear. Outside of the streams, have you done any like ridiculously long? Wait, outside of the streams, have you ever done like a ridiculously long coding year? A coding tear? Like how many hours have I gone like before, like in a row? I've done a bunch of hackathons, and usually those are 24 hours. If that's what you mean. If you mean something else, let me know, and I'll try to answer it. The annoying thing about streaming now and like my setup is that I'm at a standing desk, so I set up my desk as a standing desk, and it's kind of annoying to stand for so many hours. Like it kind of hurts after like 3 or 4 hours. You start feeling it in your legs. Maybe I'm getting old. I mean, I am getting older, but I don't know if that's why. It's kind of just annoying to keep standing for so long, but it's also annoying to sit for so long. So, but sitting is easier than standing. So, and when you're sitting, you could just like stand up every few minutes or every hour or something. But when you're standing, like at the standing desk, I have no choice but to stand. Like I can't. Sometimes I lean, but I still have to stand. Maybe I should get like a standing desk chair thing. They must have that. A standing desk, maybe IKEA standing desk stool. Something like that. Yeah, something like this might be what I want, what I should get. I'll just have to measure the heights and see if this would work for what I want. Actually, I like the idea of getting one of these. So it's like you're standing, but you're not. You're kind of like leaning a little bit. All right, I'm going to get one of these. Is IKEA even open? I don't know. IKEA Red Hook. Let's see if I could, if it's open. Yes, it's open. Closes at 7. All right, so I'm going to have to go one of these days. Got off on a tangent there. Oh yeah, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to get this thing to hold on, wait. When the form gets, when this runs, console.log, I want to see the actual form. So when this gets fired, I want to see what's in the form right now. And that should give me all of the different, like, it should give me the object with all the different properties and fields. All right, let's see if that works. So when I click on something, when I select a program, there's the form. And let's see why it's not giving me the other values. Oh, maybe I could do the form dot, what's available here? Value? But that's just like, I don't need the entire object. I just need the values of things. There we go. All right, so when I click on one of these, okay, oh, well, hold on. The selected school is, Oh, maybe what happens when I click on another? Selected training. Oh, the selected training isn't set the first time around. I could see that right now selected training isn't there, but when I click on one and I go back, then selected training exists. So when this form is created, selected training isn't. Let me see why that is. Selected training. There it is. Why is this not created the first time around? Or maybe I have to, in the component, trainings. Maybe in here I could just do selected trainings and have it as an empty selected training and have that equal to an empty string. And maybe that'll work. So let's refresh. It's already refreshed. When I click on one, no, that did not work. Don't know why that is. Do not know why that is. It only comes up after I click on one. Selected training. But why is it giving me an empty string anyway? That does not seem right. If I submit the form, oh yeah, same. We have the same issue. It's not actually giving me any values. All right, so that's kind of messed up. So let us. Oh, maybe it's not giving us values because nothing was selected. So let me choose some things. Let me type in a name. Let me submit the form. There we go. Okay, so no, that's fine. Everything's okay. It's just that the selected training doesn't exist the first time that we select a program name. Maybe because it's being hidden until we show the trainings. Let's remove this and see if it shows up. Where's the other ngIf? There we go. Let's save and see if. Okay, so now if I click on units, yeah, there it is. So I think what's happening, so let me put those back in. I think what's happening is that when I first select the units, because the trainings don't exist, because they're hidden, because show trainings hasn't been set to true, it's not creating that in the object, which is why I don't see it over here on the bottom. Like right now when I select the first program, I don't see it here in the bottom right. But when I select another one, now that it exists, now it's going to add that property. Okay, so I think that's what the issue is. The issue is that selected training doesn't exist when I first click the program name. So is there any way to make it exist, come into existence? Let me look at my components. So where does it actually get created? I think when I do show training, so when show trainings gets run, that is so weird. I mean, it should exist. When I select one, it gets set to true. It figures out what the selected program is, and then updates it. Why does that not work? All right, I'm going to actually put a comment there and continue because I don't want to get stuck on that either. Let me just put a comment for myself to remember later on, like what I just said and what I'm thinking right now. So when the radio button is first clicked, selected training doesn't exist in the object for some reason. Actually, let me toggle the word wrap. There we go. For some reason, causing the item inside of the drop-down to not show until another radio button is clicked or selected. That's weird. Even though it's right here, select program handler. So this is being run on the radio button. So whenever I click select program handler, when I click on it, that should run. Maybe I have to update the UI somehow. So select program handler. Maybe we could update training titles times. But once it I mean, this is all happening because I am hiding the trainings initially. So until someone chooses the program name, then I show the, oh, jeez. I mean, is that how I don't want it to be like this. I want the first training to show up, or maybe have it say choose a training. I'll leave my comment in there for now. I mean, it's not great, but it kind of works right now. It's fine. We'll leave it like that. Let's see. What's next? All right. So, I mean, that's okay. That's fine. So we also changed it so that we don't have to pass the form to on submit. Now we're able to access the form before the submission button is even pressed. And that's going to help us with validation, I believe. The reason for that is because, let's say, for example, someone doesn't type in an email correctly. But let's go with full name. Let's go with the name. So if someone clicks on the box and then exits it, this should turn red. All right, so let's inspect that element. Let's see where that is. Okay, so that is the full name. Okay, so that's on the input. Input dot, and the class. Okay, so the class is, if the class is ng, so right now it's pristine, but if we touch it, so it's been touched, ng touched, ng touched, and maybe not ng valid. All right, let's see how, let me think about how to do that. So that is going to be, we're going to try to get some validation going here. So I'm going to have to go into the app component. So let's style this. So it's going to be on the input. We have ng, if the input is ng touched, we're going to set the border equals to, I don't know, 1 pixel red. Let's see if that works. So when I touch any input, no, that didn't work. ng touched. Maybe dashed. Maybe that's why. Oops. Oh, there it is. Okay, so if it's touched, not dashed, I want to do solid. All right. So if I touch one of these boxes and then I go away, it's going to turn red if it's empty. So, I mean, right now it'll stay red, which isn't what I want. So I want it to be red if it's touched and it is not valid. So I guess maybe it's ng invalid. So let's see. So if I touch file number, oh, it's not invalid right now either. Let's see what that. All right. So let's say I touch it, so that it becomes ng touched. It's valid right now. Ng pristine. So if I type something, it's ng dirty. So it has to be ng dirty. All right. So let's see how that works. So if I touch it and I pull away. All right, maybe that's not right. Let's look at the classes again. So when should it be red? So when it's touched. I mean, not necessarily dirty, because if it's dirty, it could be that I typed in something correct. So it shouldn't be dirty. Touched but invalid. So I have to make this valid or invalid in some way. So I'll figure that out. So let's just leave it on touched. Oh, maybe it's pristine. So if it's been touched but it's also pristine, then it should be red. So that means that it was touched but it wasn't filled out. Right? So if I touch the file number and I pull away, it is pristine. But if I type something in, it's not. That makes sense. Okay, so that's great. But if it's oh, well, why is it? Oh, because I refreshed, right? All right, so touched, pull away. It's it has a red border. If I type something in, pull away, it's okay. But if I delete something and pull away, it's still, oh, so it's pristine again. But it was touched, so why is it not? Maybe I have to do it like this. So if it's touched and pristine, how would you do that? Okay, so CSS, combination of classes, of two classes. All right, maybe I don't need to spend so much time. Let's just leave it at that. If it's touched and pristine, we are going to make it a solid red thing. Either the full name, the email address, same idea. It doesn't work for the drop down, that's okay. All right. So just, someone will know that they have to type something, and then it'll maybe we'll make it turn green. So if it's good, we turn it green. Input dot ng touched, ng valid, ng dirty. And then I'll figure out how to change whether it's valid or not. Wait, border, let's do 1 pixel, green solid. There we go. So when we type something in, it has a green border. Why does that not look angularized? So that must be because in my HTML, I'm not using the right classes here. Possibly. That's possibly why it does not look right. And also this looks big. Why is that? This should be like rounded. Actually, I don't even like making it green if it's correct. We'll just leave it as blank. We'll leave this for now. All right, but that is going to be possible later on once we figure out how to make something valid or invalid, or we're testing to see if something's valid. Okay. What's next? All right, so we have that. What happens if I choose the same button? Nah, it still doesn't work. So they have to choose another one and go back. Or they could just select it. When they select it, okay, that's fine. Submit form. Wait a second. Why is it not clearing the form? So this dot the form dot reset form. Maybe it's not reset form. The form dot. What's the difference between reset and reset form? Maybe it's reset. So when I hit submit, yeah, it's reset. That's weird. Really thought it was something. Oh, and when I reset it, I mean, it's. Actually, was it reset form? I saw the checkbox stayed checked. Let's try this. File number, submit form. I guess the checkbox stays checked, whether you do reset or reset form. All right, so we'll leave that for now. I mean, I don't know how to figure that out right now, nor do I really care too much, because it's kind of coming together a little bit better than what it was before. Now we have the radio buttons. They're not perfect, but they kind of do work. Okay, on submit, we should console.log the submission. This.theform.value. So I should be able to look in the console. Yeah, and we could see, okay, so we can see that, once something is submitted, we'll see the values for each of the different properties, the different keys in the object. Okay. All right, what next? What next? Let us if program equals units, else if program equals APCSP. All right, that's fine. I guess we're ready for the server, and then once we get the server or the API endpoints up and running, then we'll be able to come back here to Angular and bring in the HTTP service so that we can start firing off things to the server and storing it in the server. So we're gonna start doing that. Let's get that up and running. All right. So actually, we do have a server up and running, I believe, from last night. Let me close all this out. Let me open up my server.js file that I started creating last night, and this is what you see on screen. And this is showing up because the server is up and running here on this third tab in terminal. In the terminal. Okay, so let us start to actually get the server or connect this to the database. Or actually, we could start with the HTTP API endpoint here. So it's going to be an app.post. And we're going to set, when someone sends a request to submit, that's when we're going to request response. That's when we're going to save this to the database. So when someone hits the submit endpoint, we're going to save the body of the request to the database. So I'm going to try to pseudocode it a little bit so you can see what I'm thinking out loud here. We don't really need get request here. Actually, it would be cool that if we do submit multiple, maybe just for testing purposes, every single time I submit a form, down here at the bottom it would show up, or I could have a button that says get forms, and when I hit that button it'll show me all the forms that have been submitted to the database. But for now we're just going to leave it at hello world, because it doesn't really matter right now. But in the future we'll have it so that when someone hits the the localhost 3000, it'll possibly send back the forms in the database. Okay, so when we do the post, we'll save the body of the request to the database, because when we hit the post, when we use that HTTP verb or method, it's going to send in the body. We're going to send in the body the object of the form. Okay. All right, so now we want to get this to actually save to our database, and we'll be testing it out too. Now that I realize it, we're also going to need to install Postman. Or we don't need to install Postman, but I like installing Postman because it's nice to be able to test my backend and see if it actually does work right without having to, submit a form or do something like that, or do it manually, I guess. So let us first get Mongoose. Let's install Mongoose in here, so we can actually start connecting to the database and actually saving things in there. So the server's up and running there. Let us, and I got Mongo up and running as a service here, I believe. So let me install Mongoose. npm install Mongoose. I think it's just Mongoose. Let's go to mongoose.js. Where's the quick start guide? There it is. npm install Mongoose. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to hit save, and it should be downloading that package. When I download stuff, that's when we have problems. Let me see if my my connection keeps going. Looks like we're okay. All right, so it looks like we have not dropped. All right, now that Mongoose is installed, now we can import that library here. So we are going to have to connect, or sorry, we're going to have to bring in the library right over here. There we go. So now we have this this constant that we can use, this instance of the library, and we're going to connect to our database. So let me copy paste that right here. We're going to connect to localhost, and let us name this forms instead of test, or maybe it's just form. We'll do forms. I can't remember if it's like the singular one or the plural one that you should put here, because it'll make the plural later on. So I don't want to have forms with two S's later on, but we'll see. We'll figure it out. We could always change it, delete the database, and do all that stuff. All right. We have a pending connection to the test database running on localhost. Now we need to get notified if we successfully connect or if a connection error occurs. So let us do that. Let's see if we can connect to the database using this code. Actually, let's type it out, just so I could say out loud what it's doing. All right, so we have, make this a little bit smaller. Let me hit save. Why is my word wrap not enabled always? Toggle word wrap. All right. I believe it's option Z. What is this? What does this look like? Option Z will toggle the word wrap. I don't know why it's not set by default in Visual Studio Code. Okay, that's okay. Let us, so here we connect to the database. All right, let's try that. Let's see if we can get a connection to the database. So const db equals mongoose.connection. Okay. Now we're going to do db.on. We're going to run the on method. So if there's an error, we're going to console.log, or sorry, console.error.bind. I guess this is just going to show the connection error. Console. I don't know why they're doing it like this. Connection error. But we'll use the code because it doesn't really matter right now. Next, if we're connected, db.once open, and we're going to pass in the function, we're connected. So let us, can I just use an arrow function? If we do connect, we're just going to say console.log connected to database. All right, and hit save, and that should work. So once the connection opens, our callback will be called. So this is our callback function. For brevity, let's assume that all the following code is within this callback. So once we're connected, now we could actually do stuff in here. So I'm going to comment that. So once we are connected, we're going to want to save stuff to the database in here, in this callback. So that will happen asynchronously. So we don't have to wait for the connection to actually occur before we start doing things, or before we can, like, keep doing other things. That's the beauty of callbacks and promises and async await and all that stuff. And JavaScript and Node in general is that it's asynchronous. Okay, so let's just, copy all this and let's get this kitten inside of the database. Very similar to last time. And once we see that kitten in the database, copy, save. Well, it looks like we have multiple kittens. No, never mind. We only have one kitten named Silence. So let me hit save. Now, where is it that we save this kitten? Fluffy.save? No, it's not Fluffy. We wanna save by calling the save method. Okay, so let's see if we can do that. So once it connects, we are going to save. So it's going to be save the fluffy.save. That's going to be new kitten. So we're going to do silence.save. That's the name of the cat. And in here, we're going to pass in another, we're going to do another callback function. And in here, we have to pass in, or we're going to receive an error, or we're going to either receive an error, or we're going to get, I guess, silence returned back to us. Or maybe the actual, the response. Here they named the response silence. So if there's an error, I want to return console.error and say what the error is. Otherwise, it's going to continue on. And actually, what I'll do is I just want to console.log the cat. Is that what I named it? Oh, response. Sorry, response. So we'll spit back what we get back from the server. Okay, so now we have to run this server to actually see if this actually works. That should be enough. That should be enough to put the cat in the database. So let me do node server inside of the form app folder, because I put the server inside of the folder, and this is the moment of truth. Okay, we get an error. Oh, maybe the server is not up and running? Is that the issue? Oh, address already in use. Wait, what? Okay. To use the new server discover monitoring engine, pass the option to the Mongo client constructor. Well, let's pass that option anyway. I'm not sure why it's why we're getting that error, but we'll see if we can pass it anyway. In the object, use unified topology, whatever that does. Where is it? Oh, you know what? Maybe it's because it's not able to connect to the database like this. Maybe we have to change the way that here we go. So it's localhost 27017. I believe that's the default port for I think that's the default, and I think it is form. That's the default port for a MongoDB database. So let's try running that one more time. Oh, you know what it is? The server's already running. That's the problem. So the server's running over here. It's listening for requests over, where is it? Oh, it's right here. This is the one, the third tab in the terminal. We already have the server up and running. So every time I've saved this file, I think it's added another cat named Silence to the database. We are connected to the database, and every time, yeah, because I use NodeMon. So now every time I've saved this file, once I had the save method in here, it's saved another Silence cat to the database, and we should be able to see it if we go into the database. Let me open up the Mongo shell. So let me clear that out. How do we clear that out? Option Control L. There we go. Control L. So let's connect to the shell. Server restarted. Access control not enabled. Access control is not enabled for the database. Read and write access to data and configuration is unrestricted. Don't know what that means, but let's see if we could see the databases in there. Oh, yes. So remember I saved it. I saved form and forms. Can we do use form and then drop it? db.drop or db.drop database. Okay, let me show the DBs again. So here we have the forms database. So now let's use forms. And now we're inside of the forms database. Let's show the collections in there. So we have kittens, the kittens collection, which is, where is it? I think it's because of this. When we hit save, no, not that. Where's lowercase kitten? Or maybe it just takes the model, removes the, or changes the first letter to lowercase. Maybe. Let us do db.kittens.find. And there we go. Let me make that pretty so it's easier to read. There we go. So we have two cats in here. Two cats named Silence in the database. So it works. Console.log response. So the reason we don't see anything in the, or maybe we see things in the console, or maybe not. Console.log response. But we don't get an error, so that's good. Whatever. We have our cat. We were able to save a cat. So if we're able to save a cat, we're able to save a form, or we will be. Once I connect Angular's HTTP thing over. Okay. You know what? Instead of using this this callback, I'd rather just use the promise way of doing things. But it also doesn't have the you know what? We'll leave it. We'll leave it like this. That's fine. All right. How does this? Let me just make. I'm like looking back and forth just to see, like, because the documentation isn't consistent. So I don't even remember if this is how I did it when I actually did this last time. Oh, there's the use new URL parser. So this second object should have been passed. This should have been passed as the second argument of the connection. Oops. Of the connect method. So, oh, there's use new URL parser. Let me just replace that with use unified topology. There we go. That's just what it said. And this is also where we could have the create update index or create index, so that this would run faster with a bigger database. Okay, so we have that. Const db. So this tells us that it connected to the database, and then once we're in here, we're going to save the stuff to the database here, which is what I did basically in here. We don't have to have the schema in here. We could have the schema outside of the outside of that. I mean, we could leave it in there. It doesn't really matter. It still works. And Silence was the name of the cat. If we let's create another cat. Let's call this I don't know, Ugly Cat, and its name is Ugly. And when I hit save, we should see it over here, or we should see in the database that something was added. So let me save it here. And that, all right, we crashed. What happened? Silence is not. Oh, I forgot to change that here. It's not Silence that's saved. Now its name is Ugly Cat, or that's its constant name. So let me hit save. There we go. Ugly was added to our database. So now if we run that command again, where we do kittens.find.pretty, we should see silence, and why don't I see Ugly in there? Oh, maybe because. Let me just run it without the pretty and see why it's not saving. That's weird. Did it show DBs? Did it create another database or something? Oh, it saved it inside a form. I guess I must have changed that. Let me do use form db.form or show collections. Kittens. Not use kittens. It's db.kittens.find. There's Ugly. So there's Silent and Ugly. So we want to use the form database, not forms. So let us go into forms. So let's use forms, and let's drop this database. Database. There we go. And so now if I show the DBs, we have our form database. Yes. I'm going to actually drop form. So let us use form db.drop database. And now over here in my code, I'm going to name the database forms. So when I hit save, it should save, or it should create the forms database. So if I go show DBs, there's forms, use forms, show collection. So we should have the kittens collection. db.kittens.find, and we should have just ugly in there. And there we go. So ugly is in there, or ugly cat is in there. Okay, so that's great. The thing is that I don't really want to I don't want to save a new cat every single time I save this file. All right, so I'm gonna just comment this. I'm gonna comment this out, this kitten stuff out. I'm gonna hit save, and I'm gonna drop that database. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna drop the collection. I'm gonna drop the collection from the database. So db.kittens, or how do I do that? No, not ls. Show DBs, use forms, show collections. How do you drop a collection? Let me Google that. Mongo drop collection. So collection.drop. So I guess db.kittens.drop. db.kittens.drop. There we go. So now show collections, and there should be nothing in there. Yep, nothing's in there. But if we show the DBs, actually, we also don't have our forms database because nothing was saved to it. I guess if the collection's empty, or if it doesn't have any collections, it just gets deleted somehow. I don't know. Let's see. So what I want to do is when we get a post request, we want to, here's where I want to save the body of the request to the database. So I want to be able to console.log the request.body. So that means I have to install body parser. And I believe that is called middleware. So I'm going to type in express body parser, just so you could understand. I know that I have to use this, but I don't exactly remember why. So it parses incoming request bodies in a middleware before your handlers, available under the request.body. So I want to be able to see the body of the JSON, basically, of the request. And if I don't use body parser, then I won't be able to access it. I won't be able to see what's actually coming in. Or maybe it'll be a jarbled mess or something, or it won't be able to understand it and parse it. So let us install body parser to our project here. So in form app, we're going to do npm install body parser. I believe it's called. So let me just type in npm body parser. There we go. Maybe it'll say better in the documentation. It'll say something a little bit better. As you can see, this is a very popular library here. 13.5 million downloads every week, which is pretty crazy. Okay, before handlers, available under request.body. So we install it doing npm install body parser, and then we bring it into our project. We bring in the library by doing that line. Okay, so npm install body parser, and then we can bring in. I'm going to make this a constant because it's not going to change. We'll put we'll put body parser under express const. There we go. So now we have a body parser available in there. You can also set some options because it's going to be parsing JSON. So I might have to change some of these things. I might have to change some of the options eventually. I just realized that I'm extremely hungry. I had cereal a few hours ago, but what time is it? It's 4 o'clock. Wow. We're having fun here, so time is flying. We're at 27 hours, 50 minutes, and I can't even remember what we started at. We started at like 26 what? I think 26:22. So that means we're about an hour and a half in. Really? Just an hour and a half in? Wow. Okay. This is okay. I guess I'll try to install Postman. And if our connection drops, you'll know why. And if that happens, I'm willing to gamble and like roll the dice right now, because if the connection drops, I'm going to go eat. I'm gonna go eat lunch. So Postman. It's a collaboration platform, and so on. Let us download it. Let's gamble. Let's see if this gives us some issues. We'll allow the download to occur, and we'll monitor our stream. It's still downloading. We can see it's downloading really fast at 6 megabytes a second, but our stream is holding up, it seems. So that's good. That's good news. No dropped frames, I think, there. Perfect. Let me open up in the Finder window. We have our Postman here. We're going to run or unzip that file. And there we go, our Postman app. So we should be able to drag this into the applications. And now I can delete the zip. Throw that in the trash. And now we will have Postman available to us. So I could do Command space and type in Postman, and we can run that app. All right, so I see that it's trying to, it's asking me if I want to open this because it was downloaded from the internet. And it looks like it worked. All right, can I not sign in? I want to skip signing in. Take me right to the app. There we go. Do I want dark mode? Nah, let's go light. Let's have Postman be a little different than the rest. Let me close out the downloads. I think we're still good. Yeah, we're still running. I was secretly hoping that my stream would die just now, so I could go eat. But alas, it was not meant to be. We're gonna keep streaming. Okay. Let's create a request. And let us. All right, so now we could. Okay, hold on. Let me think over here. I think this just one time connects to the database and saves and does whatever is in here, and then it closes out the connection, possibly. I don't even know if I'm doing this right. And I've done this a few times in my life, and every single time I have to like look at the documentation. I have to find another tutorial. I always forget how this is done. I guess when the answers are all available on the internet, you don't really your brain just throws out that information. So this is why I'm doing this stream. So in the future, when I'm creating another server or trying to save to a MongoDB, then I could just watch my own videos and see where I got stuck or how I figured it out. Okay, so let us be able to submit a post request, and we'll console.log the body of that request. So I'm going to send it a JSON object, and we'll see if we can console.log it out every single time that runs. I think that should work. So let us do localhost, and this is the server is 3000, and we're going to hit the submit endpoint, and that's going to be a post request. Let's pass in the I think it's going to have to be X www form URL encoded, so that way we can send it a JSON. I think that's what it means. The key is going to be hi, and the value is going to be by. So let's see if that works. I think our server, as long as our server was just saved, which it was. Let me see the server in the terminal. So I'm going to pull it over here to the right so you could all see it. We're connected to the database. So that ran, but that doesn't really matter. But now when I run this post request, we should be able to see the JavaScript object that was just sent to that URL sorry, that API endpoint, that URL actually. So let me hit send, and it says undefined. So we are not able to see what was just sent. Let me, how do I stop this request? Stop, cancel, there we go. Okay, so that did not work. Request.body did not work. Why is that? Body parser. Maybe because I didn't set the options of the body parser options. So it doesn't even know that it should be a JSON. So that's probably the issue here. It doesn't know that it's JSON that's coming in, so it's just undefined. It has no idea what it is. Let's see the example here. Okay, so app.use body parser URL encoded false. Okay, so that is going to make it an X www form URL encoded. So that's what we want. I'm going to put that underneath body parser. And we're going to parse JSON. So let us put that underneath. I'm going to hit save. I'm not going to set the headers because I'm not going to be sending JSON right now. I'm not going to be sending it from the database, at least not right now, I think. So we can just leave it like that. And now it should work, or now we hope it'll work when I hit submit, or when I hit send right here. So we're going to hit the submit endpoint, and it should say hi bye over here in the terminal on the top right. So that is our database, sorry, our server that's running right now. So when I hit send, it says null prototype hi and bye. So we got our object. That works. So we're able to send something from a front end or from Postman. We'll be able to send an object to the server, and the server can receive it, can parse it, and can understand what's going on. And then we'll take that whatever was sent to the server, and the server will handle saving it to the database, which is what we want. This is good. I don't know why it's getting stuck on sending request. I think because once I do the request.body, maybe we have to do like return a response. Can I do status? So what would be the correct status code? If everything was submitted correctly, I think it's 201. End. Will that end it? Let me just let's just see if we just send that. So let me hit submit. No, that still gets stuck. So let us maybe I have to do like res and then .end at the end of it. And we'll see if we get that response also. Send, we get the 201 created. And actually, I could probably put an object here. So status, what's it called? Message or something? Or body? Or message? Maybe it's body. And then I could send a response before I end it. Before I end or sever the connection, I think. I could send it an object that has a message that says received your request. All right, so let's hit save. Let's see if that works. So down here, we should receive something in the body of the response. Nope, we did not. Request.status.body. All right, so maybe it's not .body. How do we... let's type in express return. So the response body, add response body. Res.send. Okay, oh, it's send. Wait, send file not found? How do I send, maybe it's one of these. Here, I see this question down here at the bottom. Oh, I might be covering it up. I keep forgetting that when I'm on stream, I'm in the bottom left. So anything that's here in the bottom left, you might not be able to see. All right, so let's see if this helps us out, because I don't know which one to send. Express is one of the most popular web frameworks for Node, probably used by most, blah, blah, blah. When working with Express, we get access to a request and response object, and we could use the latter, the response object, to send back some response back to the requester. And this is going to be Postman. I'm going to send that back to Postman. There are a bunch of methods available for us, such as res.json, res.send, res.end. The question is, of course, are these different? If so, how? In this article, we'll review these differences. Great. So I get to learn a little bit more about Express and like the right way of doing something. Whenever Express server receives an HTTP request, it will provide the developer with an object, commonly referred to as res. Here's a really simple example. Sending a response. Res.send. Multiple ways of sending responses using Express. We'll go through a few examples now. Sending a response can be achieved by calling the res.send method. The signature of this method looks like this, where the body can be any of the following. It could be a buffer, string, object, and array. So we could do a res.send, and then maybe that'll work. Maybe I'll get rid of this end thing. Maybe it shouldn't be like that. So let me hit save. Let's see if that works. Connected to database. Let me hit send. There it is. Okay, that worked. So I sent back status 201, received your request, and the database, sorry, the server did receive the object here. You see hi, bye. So request.body worked. Yes. Okay, so we're able to see it on the actual server. Let me keep reading just to make sure I understand what's actually going on here, or if there's a better way or a different way of doing this. This method automatically sets the content type response header as well as the argument passed to the send method. So, for example, if the body is a buffer and the content type will be set to application octet stream, unless, of course, we programmatically set it to something else. But since I'm returning an object here, a JSON object, I guess it automatically puts in the header that this is JSON. So is that what is, can I see that? No, maybe not. But, I mean, this is good enough. I mean, it did, I could see the JSON, so the response. So that works. That's great. Many developers out there are using Express to create RESTful APIs, including us. And most of the time, such APIs return JSON data. Now, the question is, of course, should we use res.send to return JSON data, since this method accepts objects as part of its argument, or should we use res.json? Let's see what happens when you try to send when we try to send JSON data. The response header looks like this. So I'm not seeing this right now, but I'm sure that's what's happening behind the scenes. We can see that Express has correctly set the content type. So if this works, why would Express expose res.json at all? Okay, res.json actually has some functionality that's related to JSON objects that we can't access when using res.send. Namely, it can format the returned JSON data by applying two options. Replacer and the number set. These two options are collected and passed to the JSON stringify method, since its signature looks like this. JSON.stringify and some arguments. Once this, or some parameters there. Once this method is called, the res.json method will then call res.send as well under the hood. But last but not least, let's take a look at res.end. Do we need to call it? Good question. I don't know if we need to call it. This method kind of makes sense, right? There's a response, and once we've collected the data or did something else, we want to present that to the caller, and as a last step, we should end the session. This could be achieved by calling res.end. But do we need it? The answer is twofold, yes and no. That's a great answer. Yes and no is such an annoying answer. We can use res.end if we want to end the response without providing any data. This could be useful for a 404 page. So I think that's why it wasn't working when I had .end at the end of this, at the end of this response. So that's useful if you're doing a 404 page. In the code, we're explicitly setting the HTTP status code, immediately after that ending the response. But what if we want to send some data and end the response? The answer is simple. res.send both and res.json both allow us to send some data, and they also end the response. So there's no need to explicitly call res.end. Great. So all I just have to do is use send, which I did, and that will end the connection. So that's why in Postman before, when I didn't have a send or end, it was spinning, basically. Please also note that res.end does not send an e-tag header, blah, blah, blah. To sum things up, res.json allows for extra formatting of the JSON data, but since I don't need to format it, I'm just sending a simple little JSON object there. If this is not required, res.send can also be used to return a response object using express. Both of these methods also end the response correctly, and there's no further action required. Great. Thank you, Tomas Piros. This is from when? August 2018. So about 2 years ago. 2 years and a few days ago, this was released, and this is a good article. Thank you so much. And thank you, Google, for presenting it. All right, so that is great. So now we could access the actual object here that we received. So I'm going to have Angular send a JavaScript object to this endpoint, the submit endpoint, and we're going to be able to log it out. And here we're going to save it. Once we receive that object, we are going to save it to the database. So we'll probably try to make sure that there is an object in there and it's all correct, and we'll save. Okay, let's do that. So why don't we maybe we should take a break so I can go eat, because I am kind of hungry. It's 4 p.m. and we've been going for 28 hours, 6 minutes or 7 minutes right now. Part of me just wants to keep going, and then part of me is starving. You know what? No, yeah, maybe I'll take a break. Yeah, I'll take a break. Or not. As you can see, I'm extremely indecisive, so I never quite know what to do sometimes. So usually I end up flipping coins to make decisions, because I have a hard time making decisions sometimes. All right, no, let's keep going. We're not going to stop. Hunger can wait. Okay, so that we have that going for us. We're able to connect to the database. We know how to save to the database now. So let us figure out how to get Angular to send that HTTP post request. Okay. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to figure out now. So I do know that Angular has Angular HTTP. It has a module that allows us to connect to or send stuff to a backend, to communicate with the backend using HTTP. And I know I've mentioned this a couple videos ago that I hate reading documentation, but we're going to have to read some documentation right now, or look at some code and try to figure out what's going on. So we need to use HTTP client, it seems. Okay, the HTTP client service class in Angular common HTTP. So let me copy that. That is going to be in our. We have to bring in that that module. So import. Let me do an import statement from Angular common HTTP, and we're going to bring in the HTTP client module. And that means that we're going to have to import it as well, I believe. Yes, it's going to be an import. HTTP client. There we go. So now that we have that, we're going to have to inject that module into our component so we could actually start using it. So let me go back to app.component, and we have to create a constructor here. Let's create a constructor to inject it. And then we're going to do private HTTP. We'll use the HTTP thing, and it's going to be of type HTTP client. And there we go. It automatically imported it for us. But no, it's not with a semicolon. We need opening, closing braces. There we go. So that automatically fires up HTTP, and now we can access the HTTP Angular methods, right? So we got the whoa, did I do that right? HTTP client module. Is that what I named? Is that what it's named? HTTP client module. There we go. So it's not HTTP client, it's HTTP client module that I have to bring in, I guess. Right? Common HTTP. Let's see. I mean, this is how I'm injecting it. So I'm not creating a service. I'm not. Is that what this wants me to do? Yeah, this has a config service. I'm just going to inject it directly into the component. I don't need to separate my. I'm just going to try to keep this as simple as possible. HTTP client service makes use of observables for all transactions. You must import the RxJS observable and operator symbols that appear in the example snippets. These config service imports are typical. So we're going to have to bring in observable. I think that's because like when I send something, I'm not going to be able to see that I sent it, and I'm probably not going to be able to see the response from the server unless I use observables. So I remember something like that from a year or two ago when I did this. But I don't remember everything, so we're going to have to figure this out also. Requesting data from the server? No, we're not requesting data. Making a post request. Here we go. Sending data to a server. I should have just looked at the right side. In addition to fetching data from a server, HTTP client supports other HTTP methods such as put, post, and delete, which you can use to modify the remote data. The sample app for this guide includes a simplified version, blah, blah, blah. Making a post request. Okay, here we go. So apps often send data to a server with a post request when submitting a form. In the following example, the Heroes service makes an HTTP post request when adding Hero to the database. So this is what I want. Okay. So, but we're not adding a hero, we're adding a post. So let us, oh, that's going to be confusing. No, not a post, a form. Never mind. We're okay. Let me close out the module. Let's go back to our component here. We've injected HTTP. So on submit, when someone clicks the submit button, that is when we're going to do the HTTP post request. Okay, let's see if that works. So we will do, before we reset the form, let's do a actually, no, it is going to be, maybe it's the last thing we do. Because we'll return it. Should we return this? What if we do this dot HTTP dot post? That's the post request. And I know the first argument is going to be the endpoint. So we could do localhost 3000/submit. So that's going to be our post. And then we're going to submit the body of the JSON. So that is going to be our submission, right? Did I do that right? Is it that simple? No, it's not, because it did mention we're gonna have to do an observable. So so what does that mean? That means we're gonna have to subscribe to this, to the response, I guess, or something like that. Let's see. The post method is similar to get in that it is a type parameter, which you can use to specify that you expect the server to return data of a given type. But right now, I don't know what the data is gonna be. The type's gonna be. So I'm gonna leave that out. Body, the data to post to the body, in the body of the request. Where is that? I don't even see that. don't even see the body here. All right, let's, how do we do that? I think we're gonna have to do a .subscribe to actually see. And when you subscribe, you're gonna get a, I guess a response. So we have to create a callback function here. So let me toggle the word wrap here. So the response, or the response data, and set that, and let's log out console.log res data and see if that works. So let me hit save. So this is going to hit localhost 3000, the submit thing. It's going to pass in the submission that it just received from the form, and we might get a response, and then we'll log it out on our front end. So this is going to be in the HTML in the browser. Okay, so let's see if that works. Let's get everything up and running here. So here's our form. Let me refresh. Do we need Postman? No, we're not. We're going to leave Postman out of this one for now. Let's just minimize it. We're going to open up the server. We're going to see the server here. And the server should be, if we look back at our server.js, when it receives the body of when it receives the JSON, it's going to console.log it. So we should be able to see whatever is in our, whatever we just sent to the server, we should see it over here in this terminal window. We should see that object. And then we're going to send the response, received your request, and that should show up here in the console. All right, so that's what we're hoping happens. So how do I get that to actually work? Oh, I have to submit the form. All right, so let me bring this over here to the bottom right. And we have the moment of truth coming right up. So just refresh one last time. Timmy Smalls, a@b.com. The file number is 123. This person works at PS1. They're in the units program, and their training is 8/3/20. Oh my gosh. If this works, I'm going to be extremely happy. Or if something works and it doesn't error out. So the moment of truth. Drum roll, please. Let us hit the submit form button. Ready? Of course. Cross-origin requests are not supported for HTTP due to access control checks. So I'm going to have to do something with CORS, the cross-origin. All right, so let me, this is, I think, I should have known. Should have known it wasn't going to work. Let's Google that thing and see if we can fix it. All right, the crystal ball says blah, blah, blah. It's because our server and our front end are on different URLs, basically. One's localhost 3000, one's localhost 4200. So I think the browsers protect against that because you don't want it's a security issue, but I actually don't know exactly why. But I think it's because you don't want to allow you don't want to. Let me think. Maybe you don't want to send like a request to another server that could be malicious and get a response that has like malicious code or malicious JSON or malicious JavaScript or something like that. I think that's why. Let's see how we can fix that then. How to fix cross-origin requests, because that wasn't a good response. Oh, maybe it means that I forgot to put the HTTP. Is that what it's saying? So maybe that's why. Let's see if that's the reason. I thought it was something else, but we'll find out. We'll see soon if that's the reason. So HTTP, is it HTTP? The server's on 300. Let's see, 3000. So let's do localhost 3000 and see if it is HTTP. It doesn't say. Let's put HTTP in front. That works. What if I do HTTPS? That doesn't work. All right, so we don't have a secure server here, so it is going to be HTTP. And let's see if that's the reason. Let's see if that's causing the cores issue here. So the moment of truth again. Oh, I cleared out my form. Let me just type in anything. And right, because we're not validating, that should be okay. Let me hit submit form. We still get the cross origin requests. Are only supported for HTTP. Cannot load. Oh, maybe because I didn't save it. So now that I saved it, this refreshed. Okay, let's try again. Pick a random school. Pick a random thing. Submit form. Okay. Cannot load due to access control checks. Let me Google this specific error. Three ways to fix the core's error. And this is from 2019, so I like that. It's more recent. When working with APIs in your application code, honestly, this bug creeps up more often than it should, and every time the reaction's the same. I like this. The why you know reaction. The quickest fix is to install the extension. Once installed, click it in your browser. Okay, but the plugin fix is deceiving. It only works on your own machine. Why was the core's error there in the first place? It stems from a security mechanism that browsers implement called the same origin policy. The same origin policy fights one of the most common cyber attacks out there, cross-site request forgery. In this maneuver, a malicious website attempts to take advantage of the browser's cookie storage system. For every HTTP request to a domain, the browser attaches any HTTP cookies associated with that domain. This is especially useful for authentication and setting sessions. For instance, it's feasible that you would sign into a web app like facebookclone.com. In this case, your browser would store a relevant session cookie for the facebookclone.com domain. And this is great. The session cookie gets stored, and every time you revisit facebookclone.com and click around the app, you don't have to sign in again. Instead, the API will recognize a stored session cookie upon further HTTP requests. The only trouble is that the browser automatically includes any relevant cookies stored for a domain when another request is made to the exact same domain. Therefore, a scenario like this can happen. Say you clicked on a particularly tricky pop-up ad, opening evilsite.com. EvilSite also has the ability to send a request to facebookclone.com/API. Since the request is going to the facebookclone.com domain, the browser includes the relevant cookies. EvilSite sends the session cookie and gains authenticated access to Facebook Clone. Your account has been successfully hacked with a cross-site request forgery attack. Okay, so that's the answer. Hopefully, as long as we're not being lied to here. Luckily in this situation, like a hawk ready to strike, the browser will step in and prevent the malicious code from making an API request like this. It will stop EvilSite and say blocked by the same origin policy, which is what's happened to us. So how does the same origin policy work under the hood? Okay. The origin was 3,000, so our origin was 4,200 because we were on the front end. One, the server can be really strict and specify that only one origin can access it. 2, the server can let the gates go wide open and specify the wildcard value to allow all domains to access its resources. Once the browser receives this information back, it compares the front-end domain with the access control allow origin value from the server. If the front-end domain does not match the value, the browser raises the red flag. All right, I don't want to do the plugin. What's the other way to do this? Build your own proxy. Oh, come on. There's got to be a better way to do that. Hold on. Let us look at Stack Overflow. That'll have a good answer here. Oh, it's just the lack of the necessary access control allow origin header. So how do I add that header? Oh, we have to do the core's proxy then, I guess. Oh, wow, this is a huge answer. Okay, let's see. Looks like we're gonna have to do something like this with the header. We're gonna actually have to send a header maybe. Whoa, hold on, I saw something that I thought I'd seen before. App.use cores. Oh, so maybe in an Express there's a cores thing. Express node cores. Cores is the Node.js package for that. Actually, we might be able to do that. This might enable all cores requests. And I guess because this isn't like a production app, I'm okay with it. Who cares? Right? Is it that simple? Let's see. Let's see if npm install cores works. Here we go. npm install cores. And then in our server, we're going to bring that in. So we're going to put that up here somewhere. Const cores require cores. And then we're going to do app.use. Oops. App.use. And we'll do, cores here. So we have that middleware going. And maybe now it'll work. We're about to find out. We're going to test it out. So let's go back to our form. Let's refresh. Because I didn't save anything in the HTML, so it didn't refresh. Let's go back to our server so we can see if something happens. And if this works, we're going to take a break so we could eat. That's going to be our reward. I'll just type in anything. There we go. Let's hope this works. We'll try it in 3, 2, and 1. Yes. Yes. Perfect. So now we are connected to the database. Well, actually, no, we're connected to the server. Or we're able to send stuff from the front end to the server, and the server sent back the JSON message over here. As I predicted, it would say, I received your request. And that is the JSON response that we got from the server to our front end. The front end doesn't need to do anything, but I just put that in there so I could see that it actually went through. And on the right, you can see that that's the object that was sent to the server. And now that server can save this object into the database. So we'll have to create a schema for it and save the items in the database. Oh, geez, now I kind of like, I'm on a roll here, and I don't really want to stop the stream now. But I am starving. Now we got to take a break. We're gonna take the W for this session. I'll take a break for, I don't know, half an hour or so, and then I'll come back and we'll continue working on this. So just for anyone that's maybe scrolling to the end of this video or scrolling to this part of the video, wants to know what we just accomplished here in this session, we changed our front end a little bit. So instead of using drop downs for everything, we changed it so that we use radio buttons to detect the name of the program that the person is in. Then, depending on which program they select, they have different trainings available to them. So once they do that, they click the Submit Form button, and that sends an HTTP post request to our server. And as you can see, I just sent it, but I didn't fill out the name, address, email, all that stuff. So everything was just set to null in this object. But now the next step is going to be to take this object and save it into our database. And we've hooked into, well, we didn't hook into it, but we have written down some of the code that we're going to use to save items to our database. So we already have that kind of going for us. So that is great. That is great news. That is what we're going to continue on in a little bit, in part 2 of this stream. So this is going to be part 1. We accomplished quite a bit. We learned a bunch. We had some fun. We shared some laughs, shared some tears, and we'll continue we'll continue this next time very soon. I mean today, in just a few minutes. I just got to go take a break and eat. Okay, so we'll go with that. We're good. We'll stop there. All right, thank you for watching. If you just scroll to the end, that is what we just accomplished. And if you watch this entire thing or got to this point, I'm going to continue on in just a few minutes where we just left off. So let's take a break.